Hello, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Today I wanted to show you how to do a simple clasp for a bracelet. I usually call it a fishhook clasp, and I'm going to show you a couple of different variations. But before we get started with that, I first wanted to thank you for watching my video. And if you like it, it really helps me out a lot if you hit the like button down below the video. And if you really find this useful content and would like to see more, please subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. So with that being said, let's get started. So I have a couple of examples of the kind of clasp I'm talking about here. On this one, I've just got kind of a little balled up end on the wire as the termination point on this one. This other one I've filed to kind of a taper, so it tapered down to the end to a point, and then I made it into a little spiral in the end. I think that gives it kind of a cool little flair if you want to put a little style in your design. To do these, I'm using 14 gauge round sterling silver wire. I've cut a couple of pieces about 2 inches long, and I'm going to start with just the basic one here. What I like to do is I like to ball up the end with the flame. Where's my tweezers? There's my tweezers. I usually use a charcoal block to underneath it. And what we're going to do is put the piece of 14 gauge wire into a pair of tweezers like this. And we're going to heat it up just enough to where it melts one end a little bit. But it's kind of tricky to do. You want to make sure to get it hot enough to where that end balls up, but not so hot that the entire thing starts to melt and come into a different shape. So notice I'm heating the entire thing like this, and then when it starts to get pretty hot, then I'm going to focus kind of on the bottom here, try and get it to ball up a little bit. See, I don't know if you can see that, hopefully you can, but it's balled up just a little bit there, so that'll give us a nice end to work with. I'm trying to use 4K with the camera above me to see if that helps with the quality of the video. So in the comments, tell me if this one's a little bit better on this view of the pad than the other ones have been. I'm trying to get a little clearer picture. So okay, so what I usually do after this is I'm going to make a loop in the end. Let me show you my bracelet. I'm going to put this on here. I realized a while back I hadn't made any chain bracelets for a while, so I thought I'd make one. And when I was doing that, I thought, well, it would be a good idea to make a video about how to do a clasp for one of these. I like making chain bracelets now and again because you can kind of invent some kind of link. Like this one, I just did something weird with some half-round wire. I bent it into kind of triangular shapes on either end, and then I twisted it 180 degrees and soldered it together. It makes kind of interesting looking links. So what I'm going to be doing is I need to make the little loop for this that's going to go over one of these guys. Okay, so here's the one that has the little balled up end on it. So on the opposite end, I'm going to go ahead and make the loop that is going to hook onto my bracelet here that I've made. So I'm going to use the round nose pliers on the opposite end of the one that I melted into a ball. And then I'm just going to push it around the outside of the round nose pliers like that, so I get kind of a loop. And then I actually use bail making pliers for this part, or you can use a pencil if you want to. But what we need to do is we're going to make a loop going back the opposite direction like this. It may not need to be that big, so I might play with the size of it a little bit here by pushing it past that way. Then I'm going to grab the end with the little ball on it. I'm curving it so it kind of does that. Now I'm just kind of shaping the part that the loop from the opposite side of the bracelet is going to be resting in. Okay, so I kind of got it shaped like that, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on here. So the other thing I'm going to do after I'm done with this is I'm going to flatten this end here a little bit so that this becomes way stiffer and won't open up very much. So that makes it easier to keep your little ring on there when you've clasped the bracelet so it doesn't fall off. It makes it a lot springier. So, but we want to do that after we're done heating everything on here, and I still have to solder this closed after I connect it to the bracelet here. So I'm going to open this ring up sideways like that, hook that on there. I'm going to set the bracelet off here. It's usually a pretty easy solder because unlike most situations when you're doing silver stuff, I don't really want anything over here to flow again. I just want the solder to flow on this clasp, so I can just heat the clasp there. So let me make sure I have the solder. I'm just going to drop that in the pot. And after that cleans up for a while, then I'll be able to pound that flat. Let me show you the other variation. Okay, for this one, I'm going to file the end in a taper. It kind of comes to a gradual point, but I want it to be kind of a longer taper so I can curl this around. Okay. So for this one, I'm going to have to hook that end over. This is always the hardest part for me because it tries to twist in the pliers when you try and push it together. So to coil this up a little bit, I usually use the flat nose pliers here. And if you grab it pretty tight right there and then you bend it this way and move it again so it's straight out, bend it this way, and just keep doing that. Starts to curl like that. Now, if it's not very tight like that, you can squeeze it a bit this way. If you need to, set it on the table like that. See, that gets that kind of a tighter little coil like that. And I like to kind of flatten it out with the pliers a little bit. Alright, and then on this end here, we need to do the same thing we did on the previous type of clasp. I'm going to be doing it towards the same piece of wire though, or towards the same end is what I should say. Okay, just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing we did on the other one here. So then you end up with that, and like I said, after I attach this to a bracelet, then I would pound this down flat right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other one. It probably hasn't pickled as long as I'd like, but I'm going to go ahead and do it so I can show you. Normally I'd do this on the bench behind me, but so you can see it, I'm going to do it right here. So I'm just going to flatten about this side of the pick, about that much of it, gradually flatten it out a little bit. I usually use a little chasing hammer like this. But I would recommend holding the two ends right here, this and this together, because if you don't hold them while you're pounding on this, it's going to start spreading open like that. So. You probably can't tell by this, but it's quite a bit stiffer now here. So when you do lock this through, after you put it on your wrist, be a lot more likely to stay clasped then, so you won't lose it. So you got that type, which is just a standard one, and then you got one with a little curly Q on the end. A couple of different options for those. Okay, well that's a couple of variations on how to make a little fishhook clasp, which I find useful for bracelets. You could also use it for bracelets. You could also use it for necklaces, I would suppose, if you're making a custom-made necklace. So I think there's probably a lot of other variations other than just the two that I've shown you today. So explore, find some interesting ways to make them. And again, thanks for watching my channel. And please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and happy silversmithing. Take care.